Jung on the shadow. Why you fear who you are meant to become. An unseen companion resides in the hidden corridors of every soul. It walks alongside unspoken dreams and concealed desires. This companion bears the name Shadow. It shapes paths beneath consciousness, weaving threads of resistance around the heart. From earliest moments, the shadow takes form in secret chambers where light seems weak. Every disowned emotion and every unacknowledged impulse finds sanctuary within its depths. A candid glance at who we truly are develops in that quiet darkness, far from the applause of the outer world. Yet the very same darkness becomes the greatest barrier to transformation. Fear lodges itself in the corners where shame and vulnerability meet, erecting walls of silence and self-denial. In this journey, each woman is guided toward gentle confrontation with her shadow. This path never brings blame, but invites reclamation of hidden strength. Transformation whispers in paradox. Our greatest fear conceals our deepest power. With each breath in the night of the soul, possibility rises. In that gentle confrontation, the promise of freedom stirs like dawn beyond the horizon. The shadow draws its power from denial. Every time we look away from an uncomfortable truth, we feed the very force that keeps us small. Yet, a moment of brave recognition dissolves its grip. A clear observation of fear becomes a mirror reflecting inner resilience. A simple act of naming the trembling impulse behind a flicker of anger or sadness begins to bring light where darkness once ruled. In the sacred space of self-acceptance, a seed begins to stir. That seed carries the promise of a new self, built on authenticity rather than borrowed masks. It honors the fierce emotions that have long dwelled in silence. It invites a dance between light and shadow, where each informs and balances the other. Here lies the threshold of a profound transformation. Imagine a labyrinth woven of mist and memory, where each corridor holds both threat and gift. At its center, a mirror reveals the unvarnished self, raw and trembling. Soft beams of dawn thread through the fog, lighting secret paths toward reclamation. Each hidden corridor carries a fragment of truth yearning for recognition. The initial step demands simple presence. A pause to feel releases the shadow from its hidden cage. In stillness, it offers the spark of transformation. Resistance and liberation become one breath. Holding both births, true power. This moment holds unimaginable potential. Soon, the echo of that single breath will become a chorus guiding us into realms where control and surrender meet. The journey begins, and its momentum defies fear. An ember of awakening pulses in the depths. A silent storm gathers beyond the veil, promising to shatter old illusions and unveil a hidden sovereignty waiting within. The shadow is born in the quiet moments when a child learns shame. A flicker of anger is silenced. A spark of longing for freedom is quelled. Each disowned feeling gathers like fallen leaves in a hidden garden. Over time, that garden grows into a tangled thicket where seeds of fear and guilt take root. No light ever reaches these depths unless a brave heart dares to enter. Within the folds of everyday life, the shadow shapes our choices without consent. A woman may find herself suddenly withdrawn from a cherished dream. A surge of jealousy may choke the ease of sisterly love. These moments feel external, as though a stranger speaks through her voice. Yet every alien impulse carries a fragment of truth about her unmet needs. When she denies that impulse, she feeds the shadow's hunger for concealment. A vivid image helps to see this process. Picture an old manor sitting on a high cliff. The sunlight kisses only its bright towers and manicured gardens. Below, in the crumbling cellars, damp corridors twist into darkness. In those wet passages, Echoes of unacknowledged emotion stir like restless phantoms. No guest ever walks there unless invited by candlelight and courage. The manor's proud facade remains unbroken only as long as those cellars stay hidden. Social norms and family voices furnish the shadow with bricks and mortar. Every time a mother hushes her daughter's tears or a teacher shames a boy's gentle nature, a piece of personality is walled off. That wall stands sturdy until a quiet moment of reflection chips away at its mortar. A glance inward reveals the soft clay behind the stone. The very traits once derided become allies in creativity, compassion, and resilience when reclaimed. At times, the shadow breaks free through projection. A woman may declare another arrogant, though she has never admitted her own need for recognition. She may judge another's fear of solitude when her own fear of silence remains buried. Projection serves as a mirror pointing toward what we refuse to see. Each projection offers a map back to the hidden corners of the soul. Transformation begins when we softly shine awareness into those cellars. Awareness is not judgment, but gentle recognition. A single beam of light reduces the power of shadows. Naming a buried emotion by its true name dissolves layers of guilt and confusion. A woman can whisper to her trembling self, "I see you," and in that moment the shadow releases its hold. The process is neither swift nor painless. It calls for unwavering presence in the face of trembling soul. Yet every step into that darkness reclaims a fragment of inner strength. In the heart of the thicket, a clear spring of authenticity awaits. The gentle act of acknowledgement becomes a path out of the maze. In the next part, we will explore the illusions and resistance that choke this path, revealing how the very fear of truth becomes the greatest obstacle to our awakening. A powerful veil of illusion drapes across the path of transformation, woven from threads of self-doubt and fear. Beneath this veil, the heart quivers at the prospect of change, tethered to familiar shadows. Every invitation to step into the unknown triggers an internal alarm, shouting of loss and danger. The mind crafts stories to hold us back. The dream is too vast, the wound too deep, the self too small. In these whispered narratives, power lies hidden, shrouded by the very resistance that it once ignited. Resistance manifests as a chorus of inner critics, each convinced they protect the fragile self. One voice insists that ambition breeds disappointment. Another warns that vulnerability invites pain. A third declares that self-trust is foolish. Together they form a fortress of hesitation. The gates of that fortress swing open only with a key forged from courage and compassion. Each moment of recognition weakens a stone, and each act of compassion toward the trembling self dissolves a barrier. Illusions also arise from mirrors outside ourselves. A woman may chase reflections of success defined by others. She gathers accolades only to feel an emptiness grow within. In that hollow space, the shadow thrives, for it feeds on neglect of the true self. The true task is to see those reflections as phantom lights, beautiful but insubstantial. True light springs from within, not from borrowed glimmers. A vivid image brings this tension into focus. Imagine a dancer trapped beneath a bright stage light. In that glow, every motion appears precise but lifeless. When the light shifts, the dancer's true form emerges in soft shadows, alive with the authenticity of imperfection. Transformation calls for stepping out of the theater altogether into the woods beyond, where the moon and stars witness every step. There, the dance is unchoreographed, yet wholly ours. Resistance also appears as a silent pact with comfort. Familiar sorrow, guilty habits, or oppressive patterns feel safer than uncharted freedom. The known wound hurts, but an unknown one threatens to tear the soul open. Yet within that rupture lies possibility. Courage does not arrive as a blaze, but as a gentle ember that glows brighter with each breath. Tending that ember becomes an act of devotion to the self. As illusions dissolve, fear meets its reflection. In the still pool of awareness, trepidation waves transform into clarity. Each trembling thought becomes an invitation. Come closer and learn what you guard so fiercely. With each step, the oppressive walls tremble. Power pulses behind them, waiting for release. A potent conclusion holds this tension in balance and turns toward what awaits beyond resistance. In relinquishing the tales that bind us, we discover a deeper narrative, one of emergence and sovereignty. The next chapter reveals the archetype of the shadow, a mirror of both darkness and light, guiding us toward wholeness in paradox. Deep within the collective mind, a figure stands at the threshold of consciousness. It is neither friend nor foe, but a mirror, reflecting both hidden wounds and untapped strength. This figure bears the mask of the shadow archetype. It moves through dreams as a silent guide, embodying every disowned impulse that longs for recognition. To meet this guide is to glimpse the full spectrum of one's inner landscape, from the darkest caverns to the brightest summits. Imagine a grand tapestry woven from threads of moonlight and soot. Each thread of moonlight represents a pure intention, a spark of hope, or a radiant gift. Each thread of soot represents a repressed fear, a whispered shame, or a suppressed desire. The two weave together in intricate patterns. At first glance, the garment may appear uniform, but on closer inspection, the interplay of black and white reveals hidden figures dancing at the edges. These are the movements of the shadow archetype, urging the wearer to acknowledge every hue of existence. Another vivid image is that of a two-faced coin spinning through air. On one face shines a gleaming emblem of virtue, compassion, and light. On the other rests an emblem of rage, envy, and hidden longing. The coin's flight enchants us with its motion, yet neither face alone tells the full story of its value. Only when the coin lands flat on the palm of inner gaze does its complete worth unfold. In that stillness, the shadow archetype reveals that light and darkness dwell in one vessel, inseparable and necessary. In mythic tales, the shadow often appears as a threshold guardian, an ancient creature challenging the hero's passage. Its roar echoes fear itself. Yet when the hero greets the beast with empathy instead of steel, the creature bows and transforms into a guide. This transformation mirrors our inner process. The moment we approach disowned parts of ourselves with gentle attention, the shadow shifts from adversary to ally. It offers ancient wisdom buried beneath layers of avoidance. The archetype also speaks in dreams as a silent silhouette standing on the edge of awareness. It may appear as a traveler lost in desert heat or as a child with tear-streaked cheeks. Each apparition carries a message about the treasures hidden behind walls of self-betrayal. In the half-light of dawn, these dream images dissolve, leaving behind a faint glow of insight. With careful reflection, the dreamer begins to recognize that every shadow figure is a lost fragment of wholeness, longing to return home. Embracing the archetype means weaving its essence into daily life. A woman may bring the dark-soiled thread of jealousy into the tapestry of her day by naming it with compassion. I acknowledge this sting of envy and welcome its lesson about my unlived desires. She may greet the trembling child within, offering comfort rather than condemnation. In these small rituals, the mask falls away. The archetype stands revealed as a silent teacher, urging integration rather than rejection. In the dance of light and shadow, transformation unfolds in paradox. The very traits once hidden in shame become sources of creative power. The passions that felt dangerous become channels for authenticity. The wounds that felt isolating become gateways to empathy. Through this alchemy, the shadow archetype guides toward liberation and sovereignty. In the next part, we will explore the awakening of inner power, the first steps to embrace the shadow and unleash genuine might. A single spark stirs in the stillness of the soul, a faint glow beneath layers of doubt and concealment. In that hushed moment, a woman feels the first pulse of her latent strength. It begins as a whisper of possibility, echoing through the corridors where shadows once reigned. This is the awakening of power, born in the union of courage and compassion toward every hidden fragment of self. The first step lies in tender acknowledgement. Naming a suppressed emotion becomes a rite of passage. A trembling surge of anger, once vilified, is spoken aloud with reverence. I honor this fire. A hidden grief, long buried beneath smiles, is cradled in gentle attention. I welcome this sorrow. With each naming, resistance loosens its grip. The shadow senses kindness in these soft words and relinquishes a thread of its hold. The ember of power grows warmer with each act of recognition. A simple ritual can anchor this awakening. Each morning, a woman stands before her mirror in quiet presence. She stretches a hand to the reflection that once seemed foreign. Inhaling deeply, she invites her whole self to the light. She may frame her face in a soft palm and speak an affirmation of unity, weaving together light and darkness into a single tapestry. This practice transforms the mirror from a judge into a portal of integration. Metaphors guide the heart on this path. Envision a river whose waters run deep beneath placid currents. When the surface stirs, the hidden flow rises, carrying ancient minerals of strength to nourish distant fields. So too does inner power surge when surface stillness is disrupted. A glance inward uncovers currents of resilience that traverse every hidden channel. Those currents carry the strength to reshape landscapes of self-belief. In daily life, small acts of sovereignty reinforce the awakening. A woman may choose words that honor her boundaries, even when echoes of guilt whisper otherwise. She may reclaim time for solitude, allowing shadows to surface and reveal their gifts. Each choice that aligns with her true nature strengthens the current of power running through her veins. Resistance falters when met with consistent devotion to authenticity. As this power unfolds, a subtle shift ripples through every corner of being. Old patterns loosen like brittle leaves falling at first frost. In their place, new rhythms emerge, ones attuned to the cadence of the heart rather than the drum of obligation. With each breath drawn in wholehearted presence, a thread of light weaves into the once tangled thicket of shadow. The inner garden begins to bloom. This awakening is neither fleeting nor forced. It unfolds as naturally as dawn, with softness that belies its potency. Each moment of presence fans the ember until it glows with inner radiance. That glow transcends fear and illuminates the path ahead. In the quiet power of this transformation, the self discovers a sovereignty that no force outside can extinguish. A gentle storm of liberation gathers on the horizon, promising to carry the soul beyond the familiar shores of resistance and into realms of true freedom. A woman stands at the edge of an ancient forest, its towering trees draped in mist. Each breath draws in the scent of moss and earth, whispered from hidden roots. This forest is the realm of liberation, where every step forward creates space between old patterns and newfound freedom. The path unfurls like a ribbon of possibility, winding through shadows and shafts of light in equal measure. In that forest, liberation begins with surrender. It is not a yielding to defeat, but a release of resistance. A single exhale softens clenched muscles that once held tight to fear. In that softening, the grip of habit loosens, and the heart finds a moment of stillness. Like an autumn leaf drifting free from a branch, the spirit glides into territory beyond old constraints. An image of fire clarifies this release. Imagine a torch lowered into a river's current. The light does not fade but transforms. Ripples carry its warmth into unknown depths. So too does liberation carry the flame of our essence into places once claimed by shadow. Each current of breath washes flickers of truth over hidden embers, awakening wisdom embedded in the soul's bedrock. Practical rituals anchor this emergence. A woman may rise with dawn, pouring water over her hands in mindful devotion. Each droplet becomes a baptism of intention, cleansing traces of past self-judgment. She might trace her fingertips along the grain of wood, feeling the lineage of growth etched in its rings. These simple acts become bridges from ordinary life into sacred experience. Liberation also demands confrontation with pain. In the heart of the forest, a clearing holds a solitary boulder worn smooth by tears. Here, a woman sits with her wounds, naming each scar without apology. Whispering truths to the earth beneath, she transforms pain into offering. With each offering, the boulder dissolves into dust of compassion, fertilizing the soil of her becoming. A powerful paradox reveals itself. The deeper the surrender, the stronger the arising will. The more she releases the urge to control each detail, the more vitality surges through her veins. In the hush after a storm, the forest hums with life renewed. Roots stretch deeper, leaves unfurl with radiant greed. Liberation blossoms in the fertile ground cleared by the passing tempest of old fears. As the path unfolds, a woman gains confidence in her inner compass. She follows the context of intuition rather than the echoes of past narratives. Each choice becomes an affirmation of self-sovereignty, choosing rest over forced productivity, choosing presence over distraction. The forest becomes a mirror, its ever-changing light reflecting the fluidity of a liberated soul. By journey's end, the fog lifts to reveal a distant ridge, bathed in sunrise. That ridge calls her onward, promising vistas that once felt unattainable. Liberation, she realizes, is not a destination but an ever-renewing pilgrimage. Every footstep holds the power to dissolve shadows and awaken hidden wonders. In the next part, we will meet the shadow as an ally, a companion whose presence transforms loneliness into strength and isolation into community. In the silent hours before dawn, a quiet presence stirs within the heart. This presence is the shadow reborn as ally. No longer a lurking saboteur, it becomes a compass guiding toward mature self-knowledge and inner sovereignty. The shadow's once sinister form now offers reflections of untapped strengths and hidden virtues, waiting to be embraced. Imagine a lantern carried through caverns of stone and echo. At first its light trembles, revealing only jagged walls and dripping stalactites. Yet as the bearer advances, the lantern's glow uncovers veins of crystalline beauty etched into the rock. So too does the shadow ally illuminate inner formations shaped by trials and sorrow. Each revealed crystal is a facet of resilience, a lesson born from every trial once deemed a weakness. To reclaim the shadow as companion, one must extend an invitation through ritual of compassion. A woman may sit in gentle stillness before twilight's hush, laying a hand over her heart. She whispers gratitude for every tremor of fear that once kept her small, transforming that fear into alum grounding her steps. In this simple act, the shadow shifts from exiled specter to honored guest, offering guidance in the form of quiet insights. This alliance reshapes perception of power. No longer drawn only from achievement or external validation, true power flows from intimate knowing of both light and darkness. Picture a mighty oak rooted in soil, enriched by both sunshine and decay. Its strength arises from the union of opposites. Beneath its branches, a woman stands firm, her roots entwined with truths once buried in shame. In that rooted stability, she discovers steady authority that no wind of doubt can uproot. The shadow ally also teaches the art of balanced choice. When confronted with inner conflicts, she no longer wields self-judgment as weapon. Instead, she listens to the shadow's counsel, its memory of past hurts and unspoken longings, alongside the voice of aspiration. From that dialogue emerges decisions aligned with authentic purpose, weaving compassion into every action. This balanced interplay between light and shadow becomes the bedrock of wise sovereignty. In community, the shadow ally transforms isolation into shared humanity. A woman who has befriended her own darkness recognizes it in others' unspoken struggles. She extends empathy rather than judgment, offering space for vulnerability and growth. Through this resonance, hidden bonds form, weaving a tapestry of collective strength and mutual transformation. As dawn breaks, the shadow ally merges seamlessly into the tapestry of being. No longer cast aside, it stands at her side like an unwavering friend. Together they walk paths of maturity, wielding inner power that flows from integrated wholeness. The journey through darkness becomes not a feared ordeal but a sacred rite of passage. In the next part, we will bring these threads to a powerful conclusion, one that holds tension and promise in equal measure, leaving the soul poised on the brink of its greatest transformation. A silent wind of transformation stirs beyond the horizon, carrying the promise of a self reborn. Through the labyrinth of shadow and light, a woman has danced with fears once hidden, reclaimed each fractured shard of soul, and tended the ember of her inner power. Now she stands at the edge of a vast expanse, where echoes of old resistance fade into the soft glow of new possibility. In this moment, every step taken through darkness converges into a threshold of becoming. The tapestry of her being, woven from threads of soot and moonlight, shines with a fierce integrity. The tears that once baptized sorrow have watered seeds of compassion, and the flames once feared have ignited wells of resilience. This emergence is neither sudden nor fragile. It carries the weight of every metamorphosis endured. Beyond the ridge of awakening lies a landscape of unfolding wonders. Ancient forests of intuition stretch toward skies of clarity. Rivers of creativity flow unbound by the dams of doubt. In that terrain, she will shape a life guided by sovereign purpose rather than fleeting approval. Each choice will echo with the wisdom of her shadow ally and the courage of her brightest self. Yet the path ahead remains veiled in gentle mystery. The deeper currents of the soul run beyond sight, calling her to steward each revelation with humility and awe. Challenges will rise like shifting mists, inviting renewed devotion to integration and presence. Even as she charts new horizons, the shadow will continue to whisper truths yet unseen, guiding her toward ever greater wholeness. This is the abiding intrigue of transformation. The journey never truly ends. In every breath, a new threshold appears. In every moment, the invitation returns to step fully into the self that longs to awaken. A sovereign life beckons, crafted from the paradox of light embraced within shadow. Its contours remain undiscovered until she dares to venture further. The wind of change gathers strength now, carrying her toward realms where only the bold may wander. Every heartbeat pulses with the call of undiscovered power. The veil trembles, and beyond it lies the vastness of her own becoming.